Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. One of the best new shows on television right now is Ryan Murphy's Pose. It's about the ball scene in 1980s New York City. Our next guest, Dylan Burnside, plays Ricky, a young runaway living on the streets and looking for a home. Let's take a look.
I didn't move to New York looking for a relationship. I mean, I came here to make my dreams come true. I got kicked out of my home for being gay. And then I spent weeks on a park bench because I had nothing. I mean, Blanca gave me a warm meal and a place to stay, and being a part of a house means I have to follow her rules. If I have to choose between education and dating, I choose the ballet.
Whatever, it's all good.
Seems like you moved on, so no big deal, right?
Yeah, no biggie. You know, you ain't the only one who came here with a dream. I'm still sleeping on that park bench.
You could join a house.
Don't nobody want me to join a house.
You can't sleep on the streets.
That's what I do every night. Just yesterday, I stole a couple 40s and got smashed right over there. You know, you were smart for not showing up.
Dylan Burnside, everybody. Dylan, congratulations. This is amazing.
Thank you.
This show is so beautiful. It's so well done. It's a lot of fun to watch, but it's also really smart and a great show. Congratulations on getting the chance to be a part of it and doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been like really like life-changing, and it's a monumental moment for TV and for the LGBTQ community. So it's awesome.
And for you.
And for me.
And for me.
And for me. Yeah.
Let's talk about how you got the role.
Yeah. So my agents, they sent me the call for the show like any other thing, and you know, I was out doing a play in West Virginia, middle of nowhere, and
what play?
It's called Welcome to Fierce City by Carolee Corcoran. And so I'm working on this play, and I get this call. We're getting ready to go into tech rehearsals for the play, and I kind of see it, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. Read the sides, and I'm like, I don't know if this is right. You know, it was the role of Damon, who I play opposite in the show. I was reading for Damon, and so I don't really know if this is right. So like maybe an hour later, my agent, maybe he sensed it, I don't know, but he sends me an email. He says, Dylan, I read this script, and I immediately thought of you. I think you'll be perfect for this show. So I'm thinking, oh, well, he's talked me up. I better at least like put myself on tape for it.
Was he also like, I don't care if you think you're right or not. It's Ryan Murphy. It's FX. It's going to be a big deal.
That came in a conversation about 2 weeks later. So
you're still protesting? You were like, I still don't know if I'm right.
So I put myself on tape, and casting, they liked it, and so he sent me an email like a week or so later, and he was like, so casting liked you, and they want to see some video of you dancing. And I was like, I'm in tech rehearsal today. I'm going to be here all day. I don't have time to put myself on tape dancing. And he was like, listen, this is a Ryan Murphy series regular. I don't care what you got to do. Get yourself on tape dancing today. And so we figured it out and sent them a tape. And the next thing I knew, they flew me in to do a screen test with Ryan Murphy. And I tested for it. I guess they felt that I wasn't exactly right for the role either, but they liked me, and so they created Ricky for me.
Right. And so, because the part that you are auditioning for, he is a dancer. Your character, although he has some moves, though, right?
Does he?
In the ball. I mean, he can at least walk around the ball pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, he's got swag, he's got style.
Your dance moves like?
What are my dance moves like? You know, you ain't ready for that, Ricky.
Well, we don't have to do it here. I'm not gonna make you do that here. But what was on the tape?
So yeah, a lot of hip hop influence. So I was in a boy band for like 10 years, and so like
10 years?
Yeah.
How were you still a boy by the time you got out of it?
Yes. Yes. I started it when I was 12.
So 22, I guess that's still boy band.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so we, you know, I had a lot of hip hop choreography training.
What was the name of the boy band? Sorry.
3D.
I'm going to keep interrupting you as I come up with questions about boy bands while you're trying to talk.
That's all right.
It's called 3D?
And we're from Florida, like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. All the boy bands come from Florida.
Yeah, what is the deal with that?
I don't know. It's in the water.
It's in the water? Or is it like people know that like this is the industry of Florida is boy bands?
Boy bands. All the boys there have talent and good looks, apparently.
Okay, fair enough. Did you start the band?
I did.
So it wasn't like an audition thing where you went to a mall and like auditioned to be in a boy band? band with some weird producer?
No, I had a Beyonce moment, and I was just like, I'm gonna write this song. You do this part. I'm gonna do this part, and we're a group now.
What was the song? The first
Man, our first song was like,
This is fun. What was
we like had this. I found this CDs. Does anybody know what a CD is anymore? A CD with like these instrumental tracks on it, and it was like this like video game thing, and it was like
Mario Brothers.
yeah,
right?
it was like really weird, and so like the chorus went 3D, three-dimensional. We be the original.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing.
So that was like
12 when you wrote that?
I was 12.
You still write music?
I do.
Do you plan to get the group back together?
I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I do.
All waiting to find out is 3D getting back together.
The reunion tour. The reunion tour. No, I mean I'm still like writing and performing music. So you know, I think that'll be on the horizon for me.
So you were a group for 10 years. Did you tour?
Yeah, we toured with Bow Wow. We did some tour dates with Rihanna. We performed with Stevie Wonder at his House Full of Toys Christmas event in LA. We got to do a lot of pretty cool stuff.
That's amazing. What was that like?
You know, it was odd. A lot of it was odd. You know, we were still in high school, and
I imagine that's a little of the reason why when you were told to audition for something, you were like, I don't know if I have time, because you have a little bit of you've had a little experience getting and not getting things and knowing what the process is like.
You know, I think I have a pretty good sense of like what. Because I've been performing for so long, I kind of have a pretty good sense of like who I think I am as a performer and what I would be most fit for. And so like when I read it, it was like, I see why he's sending this to me, but I don't think this character is exactly right. And I think that Ryan Murphy and the producers also recognized why he thought I would be perfect for the show, but not necessarily right for the role of Damon.
Why do you think you weren't right for the role of Damon?
I think that based on what they wrote and what they have written, it comes through so clearly on the page who these people are. I think it was very clear that like I could play this character, but that where they were trying to take the character may not necessarily be what sits like most readily available within me.
So you're 22 years old. You 3D disbands.
Yes.
And you decide to become an actor?
Yes.
And did you move to New York essentially to come up here and act?
Yeah, I moved to New York a year later. So I left the group and decided I wanted to pursue acting, which was always kind of a passion of mine, but I just never really had the time to pursue it because, you know, 3D kind of took over my life. And
did it feel like 3D at that point was kind of waning and maybe the group was done, or did you leave at where it felt like the group could still be touring and still doing a lot of stuff? And
there was still a possibility. You know, we had just finished our second album. We had a distribution deal with Atlantic Records, but I had gotten very weary of the music business. The music business can be very tough, especially at a young age, just navigating that as an industry. And I felt like I wanted more for myself artistically that I couldn't explore in the group. And I was still in the process of like discovering who I am. And when you're in a group, they kind of like, you know, it's kind of like acting. This is your role in the group. This is the image that you have to portray. And so,
how would you define your image in the group?
I was like, you know, the ladies' man, the playboy, kind of like Ricky. Kind of like Ricky.
Talking about his character, not me, by the way.
We're talking about Ricky. No, the character Ricky. So yeah, and so like, you know, when you are in a group, you have to play that role all the time, and I didn't want to always be that. And so I was like, I want to be in plays. I want to study theater. I want to try this thing that I've always wanted to do, but just never been able to do. And so I left, and it was kind of hard because my family was very invested in the group. My cousins were my group members. My mom was our manager, and so it was just very like was a lot. And so I left the group and decided I wanted to move to New York and auditioned for a program at NYU for the summer, came for the summer, and the next fall I was here in New York studying and going to school at the new school.
Theater's kind of addicting, isn't it? Like once you start studying it, once you start performing, there's something sort of so insular about it that feels less desperate than auditioning for TV and movies. It feels very much more artistically controlled, I think.
The thing that I loved about studying theater is that you really get a chance to like dive into self in a way that I had never been encouraged to do before. And so that was really what was like addicting to me, was like, oh, they want to know who I am. It's not about being someone else all the time. It's about like knowing who you are, what you feel, and accessing those places and figuring out how you can use those things in your life to tell a story.
So what was it like then going from theater to television?
It was quite a transition, you know. This Pose has been my first, my introduction into this TV world, really. I did a small role on High Maintenance when it was a web series, the HBO show. But, you know, just figuring, it just takes a lot of different muscles that you're exercising. You know, the way you spend your time on a TV set is completely different than the way you spend your time with theater. Theater, you're like there 2 hours of the day, and your whole day goes into prep for those 2 hours. But with TV, like you're there maybe 12 or 16 hours, and some of those hours maybe you're sitting around and you're waiting around for your scene to come. It's very, you may be shooting out of order. So, you know, we may be shooting the end of the episode on the first day of episode 8. And then you have to be like, oh, what did I do on the first day? Or try and figure out, oh, what happens in the beginning of the episode so that I can remember to like hit these beats so that it makes sense in the beginning. That out of order thing kind of like messed with me a little bit in the beginning.
Now, how would you describe your character, I guess, outside of just a ladies' man? I feel like I've seen 3 episodes, and I'm not really sure yet whether he's a good guy or he's a bad guy. Not necessarily a bad guy if he has good or bad intentions, or if he can control his bad intentions.
You know, I mean, I think I've been live tweeting with the audiences.
Bad impulses, not intentions, I would say.
I think right now Ricky is a little bit misunderstood. I think
he is. Thank you. I've
yeah,
been saying that about him for a
Ricky is so misunderstood. You know, he's hard to read. You know, I think that's intentional. I don't think they're bad intentions. I just think that like his intention is to be kind of hard to read because he is living on the streets. He's had to learn how to survive on the streets. And when you're living on the streets and trying to figure out how to survive, like you don't always want people to be able to place you. You want to kind of be in a space where you're keeping people guessing. So I think he's adapted to being that way, and that is kind of why maybe some people have described him as shifty. I've seen that word used a lot. You know, or if he's trouble, it's just because he's trying to figure out who Damon is and how Damon fits in his life and what really is going on, you know?
Do you relate to that in a certain way, coming from a music industry background as a teenager and like specifically a boy band background as a teenager, where people are immediately assuming who you are and sizing you up and trying to figure out how they can sort of utilize and use your talents?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's, aside from being in the music industry, just like in life, you kind of figure that out really, really fast. In New York, living in New York, when I moved to New York 6 years ago, it was like, you know, that's happening every day. People are sizing you up. You walk into a room and people are like, oh, who's in the room? Who do I need to get to know so that I can further whatever agenda that I have? Or that person looks good, I want to be next to them.
It's a bummer of a room, I gotta tell you.
Yeah,
I
mean,
don't like rooms like that.
I hate rooms like that, but it happens all the time. So yeah, I can totally relate to that.
When you signed on to the show, did you have any experience with ball culture in New York City? Did you do any research on your own?
I did a lot of research because I didn't have any experience prior to it.
I've been to one ball, and it was like one of the greatest events of my life.
Yeah, so I had seen Paris is Burning before signing on to the project, but so I watched Paris is Burning 5,000 more times after that. Marlon Riggs has this really amazing documentary that I watched. I went to the New York Public Library and just like tried to find as much as I could via photos and articles and videos and just soaked all that up. We had like amazing consultants on the show that were helping, give us the history of the ballroom. We had like a ballroom history course with Michael Robertson, who's actually a professor at the New School. And so, yeah, there were just like lots of conversations, spending time with people who are in the house ball scene now, and, gleaning from their experience and learning from them and talking to them about what it's like, and lots of personal research.
That's so cool. Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question out here? Does anyone have a question? Oh, you have a question.
I do.
Where did you come from?
Over there. Oh. Hi. So you were talking earlier about how you did theater in West Virginia. I went to school there. I loved it. So I'm wondering, what was it like doing theater in a place where the arts aren't as accessible to being in New York and being on Broadway?
Yeah, it was kind of tough, like you're out there with these people who may or may not really understand the play, or they just kind of come because it's a thing. It's a festival in West Virginia called the Contemporary American Theater Festival. It happens at Shepherd University. Shout out to everybody out there. But you get a lot of different people from all different walks of life, and it's completely different than doing Broadway. But I think the rewarding thing about being out there is like it's so centered on the work, for the artists and the playwrights and the directors. It's really just about like getting in there and figuring out what the play is, figuring out what the story is and who the characters are. And that was the rewarding thing for me is, that's why I decided to go to West Virginia and do it, was because I was really interested in doing something that was artistically fulfilling and not something that was going to be looked at from like a critical point of view for commercial success or anything like that.
Do you have a favorite play that you're dying to do?
I would love to do Hamlet.
They say that's the greatest part ever written.
I think it's an incredible part. Yeah, Hamlet would be amazing for me.
Next question. I think this is our last one.
Hi. This is going to be an online question. Jamie would like to know, being an actor, writer, producer, and singer, does one skill help with the other?
They all help. They all help each other in some way. As an actor, you're trying to pull from all of your personal experiences. It also helps that I write when I'm getting a script, because I understand a writer is very conscious about what they've written, the process it's taken them to put the words. So I'm I try to be very respectful of the words on the page and what the writer's intent is, and trying to figure out what that is.
You can always tell the difference between when a writer reads a script for the first time out loud and someone who's not a writer reads a script for the first time out loud, because writers generally get the intent of lines pretty quickly. Even if their performance is flat or they're just reading it in a flat way, you can hear that they have picked up very quickly on what that sentence is trying to do in the conversation.
Yeah, I read somewhere once that most actors either read some actors read a script like an actor. Some people approach work like a writer, and some people approach it like a director. I think I'm one of those actors that really approaches a script as a writer, and I really try to get into what were they thinking and what are they trying to do later, what was the backstory. I am really interested in backstory. I created this whole huge backstory for Ricky. And
what are some of the details of his backstory? Do you mind sharing with us?
No, not at all. So I don't know if anybody has heard the story of Giovanni Melton. He was a young boy who was killed by his father for being gay. It was in the press maybe almost a year ago. He was in Nevada, and that story really just it just broke my heart that a boy. Some father would kill their child because they were gay, so when I got this part, that was heavy on my heart, and I felt like I wanted to honor Giovanni's life in some way, and so in some ways, the character Ricky is inspired by Giovanni Melton's life. So a part of the backstory is that Ricky has a brother who was also gay, and they bonded over that at an early age. And his brother was a little older than him. His father found out that he was sleeping with the boy, and they got into a big fight. And in a freak accident, he was killed in the fight that resulted of him being gay. And so Ricky internalizes that trauma. And realizes that he can never like fully self-actualize in that environment, and leaves home.
He feels like he can't fully self-actualize in any environment.
In any environment. So that kind of stunts his growth, and he's like, it kind of creates this armor, this shiftiness, this armor that people perceive to be shifty. It's like, I have to be careful how I show up because someone may kill me. And
we see that in how he responds to the other character who likes him. As soon as he feels slighted in any kind of way, he responds very defensively.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's kind of like the writer in me, like seeing that character trait on the page and saying, okay, where does that begin? How could something like that begin? And then just thinking about Giovanni and connecting those dots together. Yeah.
Well, Delana, I love the show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great performance. I look forward to seeing what happens with the character Ricky as the show progresses. It's on FX on Sunday nights at 10.
At 9 p.m.
At 9 p.m. Delon Burnside, everybody. Let's hear it.
Thank you.